Hello, everybody, and welcome back. On this episode, St. Louis Air Show 2023. Yes, I love air shows. This one was on Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. It's a little ways east of St. Louis, depending on where you count St. Louis as starting. It was fantastic. I love an air show. I love an air show even more on an Air Force base. I love military bases. They're just fantastic. They're like little mini cities. Man, look at this hangar. Just straight up. Look at the size of this hangar. You could park a freaking 747. What's a big one? I don't know. There's something bigger than 747. Some Airbus or something. We don't want to talk about that. Anyway, let's get right into it. This is the MQ-25. It's the Boeing autonomous tanker. This is the closest I've ever been to it. That's fantastic. It was really cool to get up and personal with this thing. They just had it roped off. I did not see any guards around it. A little surprised about that. The first thing that hits you when you look at this thing, look at that intake. You can barely see it. So maybe it doesn't hit you. But that's the kicker to this thing to me. Look at that air intake. It's that little slit right on the top of the fuselage there. You can barely see it. I mean, you can see the orange nose here, and then obviously the top of the plane. So that the little black slit in between the nose and the top is the air intake for the entire thing. That's it. It is basically flush with the fuselage. I always thought it was. This is the closest look I've ever gotten at it. And it was not entirely flush. There was just a teeny little scoop there. But it is tiny. I don't know how they did this. I don't know how that engine gets the air it needs. Incredible. Moving on. And just to, here's a little front quarter panel. You can see the beefy landing gear there. It's meant to operate on carriers, so it needs to be able to handle that stress of smacking down on a floating runway, along with all the salt that goes into the corrosive environment being on a carrier. I'll move to the next picture real quick. It's more of the same. What I'm doing here, so I kind of group things according to category, not necessarily chronologically. So it turns out that these pictures were actually the first things that I saw when you walk on the base. I mean, you walk into the air show and boom, the hangar is right there. But I was going through the videos, and it's just like, it was better, in my opinion, to kind of group them based on type rather than chronologically. So I'll be bouncing around in time, but for example, this first segment is going to be slideshow. So it's going to be still pictures only. So it's going to be all my still pictures from the beginning to the end. Then we're going to back up a little bit, look at videos of a particular thing, and so on and so forth. So just a heads up, that's how this is being organized. And there's a view of one of its refueling pods. So they probably had a sign here with all the stats. I did not take a picture of it. I should have, although I don't remember seeing it now that I'm saying that. But obviously, maybe not obviously. So the history of this thing, as far as I know it, it started out as the JUCAS program. That was the Joint Unmanned Autonomous something. What's the S there? I'm blanking. System. The joint being Air Force and Navy. There's a whole history there. You can look it up. That would be an entire podcast to itself to even scratch the surface on what happened there. But long story short, Air Force dropped out. Navy grabbed the program and dumbed it down significantly. So what was supposed to be a strike autonomous drone capable of ISR, intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance, they basically turned it into a floating gas can. So that's what you have before us. That's what you see before you today. So the MQ-25, its sole mission right now is to provide fuel, be the air refueler for F-18 wing and F-35 wing, and probably in the future other strike drones. But as you can tell when you look at this thing, I'm going to move on. There's another picture of its refueling pod. So I'm sure it carries a ton of internal gas. This thing is bigger than it looks when you get up on it. This, like I said, this is as close as I've ever been to it. And it is big. It is pretty big. It's bigger than F-18, I'd say. Certainly the wingspan. But that whole fuselage inside, as far as I know, and I don't have inside knowledge on this whatsoever, is to carry gas. And then you've got these pods on the outside that carry a little more, I guess. Is that what that is? See, now I'm second guessing myself, because number one, that doesn't look that big. Number two, it's got a propeller on the front, so that's generating power for something. It almost looks like a electronic warfare pod, but I don't think that's what that is. I'm pretty sure that's a gas can, but I don't know why it needs to generate power. So please correct me in the comments, anybody who knows what the hell this is and what's going on here. I should know that. I really should know that. Now, here's a back quarter view. And so this surprised the hell out of me. So, but yeah, backing up a little bit. So this thing's mission right now is a flying gas can, but you can look at this and tell it's stealthy. You know, you don't have those chin lines going on, you know, the entire size of the fuselage, and it's very sleek profile. So this design was for the Jet UCAS, from what I understand. And that program kept changing, whatever. And instead of doing a clean sheet, they were just like, here's what we got. So right now, flying gas can. In the future, it should be in good position to offer ISR, maybe even strike. I don't know what the internal weapons bays are like, but presumably this thing already has, or could be easily modified to, shrink the gas can a little bit, make some weapon bays, that kind of thing. Could certainly load some electronic attack pods on it, even if it might already have one. I don't know. That kind of looks like one. Man, I feel like an idiot. I should know exactly what that thing on the wing pylon is, and I don't. But getting back to the stealthy aspect, we're staring at the exhaust right now, and that's a big component to stealth aircraft, mostly for IR signature, I believe. And I'm really surprised this thing is uncovered. I thought, they covered up like they usually do on these static displays at air shows. Usually the intakes are covered, the exhaust is covered, and especially on a stealthy aircraft like this, I'm really surprised they left the exhaust exposed. So I'm curious why that is. Either it's not that big of a secret, or this thing just does nothing to help itself in the IR realm. I don't know. I really don't. It just surprising. I'll leave it at that. And there's another picture of it from the side. I mean, it is kind of washed out with the light, so all you see is black. But I'm taking a picture from a crappy GoPro. You'd think if somebody walked in there with a decent camera, they'd probably be able to zoom in, change the lighting a little bit. Who knows? Get a much better picture of what's going on inside there than what you see here. But just food for thought. Just interested why they didn't cover that exhaust up. All right, moving on. Here's an F-16. Yes. Where's that from? I think there was a sign there, and I don't think I took a picture of it. So this is front and center on Ukraine right now. Just today, as of, where are we at? March 20-something? March 20th. May. Sorry. Jeez, May. All the headlines coming out of Ukraine now are, give us F-16s. And finally, the Western Coalition is saying, that sounds like a pretty good idea. We're going to start training you guys. So this would be the plane they would get eventually. They probably will get it. It's not going to happen anytime soon, as of May 20th, 2023. But yeah, it's a tiny little thing. F-16s, they're like, to me, they're like the Mazda 3s of the jet aircraft world. They are so tiny. But they got, they pack some performance punch. They're very agile. They kind of zip around. They're like these annoying gnats. Obviously, they're not very stealthy, as you can tell. This is not a stealth airframe. But yeah, compared to what Ukraine's got now, it'd be fantastic. So let's hope that happens. Let's hope they get trained on them. Countries are willing to donate them. And go spank those MiGs, baby. Ensues, whatever. Yeah, I mean, look, here's another picture of it. Even the F-16's got its exhaust covered up, and there's absolutely no special technology whatsoever in that exhaust. So, yeah, I really have no explanation for why the MQ-25 was wide open. Or maybe they had something in there that was covering it up and I just couldn't see it. Maybe it was kind of an internal cover, kind of like this one is, recessed a little bit. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Now, getting into some of these other static displays, they were very heavy on the mid-air refuelers on the tankers. I should know what this is. I do not. I do know it's not a KC-135 because the KC-135 does not have the tail jet engine there, at least none of the variants I'm aware of. So I have no idea what this thing is, but I do know, I think I know, it's a air-to-air refueler. As is the one thing, in fact, the one behind it might be a KC-135. But I would definitely not bet my next paycheck on that. All right, moving on. There's a pretty sweet Air Force trailer. I don't know what they carry in there, but I bet it's cool. Yeah, here's a aft view of the previous tanker. Yeah, so we're looking at the boom right here. So that's definitely a refueler. But I don't know what kind. I'd have to do some Googling. And as you can see, they were letting people up in the jets. I did not go up in any of these. If you watch my last dive video, which you haven't because I haven't uploaded it yet, even created it. I've laid down the voiceover, just got to get in the Caden Live and mash it all together. But I tore my Achilles in late March. So that was, yeah, about, I don't know, where are we at here? 2 months ago now? Yeah, so I came to this thing barely walking at the time. I had just been given clearance by the doctor to walk about 3 or 4 days prior to this air show. In fact, the doctor said I could walk on Wednesday. Air show was Saturday, so Thursday, Friday. So 3 days afterwards, I had just been walking. And so I was gimping around pretty heavily, very slowly, in a little bit of pain. Tell you, the worst part about it was at this time I did not have a orthopedic raise on my good leg. So I'm wearing the walking boot on the left leg, and it's like 3 inches longer than my right leg, So that makes for some very uneven walking. I've since got a device that's strapped to the bottom of my shoe to even that out, but anyway, all that being said, I did not actually go up the stairs on any of these things. I just wasn't feeling it. And there's a closer look. Yeah, I did take a look. I did have a detailed walkthrough of a tanker in my last air show. I guess that would have been 2 years ago, maybe. I think that was a 135. It certainly wasn't a 46. So the KC-46 is the newest one. And that thing's been plagued with problems. I'm pretty sure none of these are KC-46. Never been. In fact, I know the one I walked through was not KC-46 because the boom operator was in the back. So I think that was a 135. So if you want to see a detailed view of walkthrough of a tanker, I will put a link in the description to my KC-135 walkthrough. Yeah, the 46 moving along here. So these folks came from California, it looks like. Yeah, the 46, and you got people hiding in the shade already. So spoiler alert, there are no Blue Angels here. It got rained out, weathered out. I got some real good visuals. Well, probably not footage, but I got the F-22 putting on a show, man. It put on a freaking show. I mean, clouds were starting to roll in when that thing was flying, and it made for some good environment for some vapes and capes. And man, we saw some on the F-22. That was fantastic. But that meant Blue Angels, no-go. So we missed the Blue Angels, at least on Saturday. I think they flew on Sunday, but given my leg and how it was a lot of walking. I walked miles this day, and that was a lot to gimp on. I brought a chair, thank goodness. I almost didn't. It's like, man, I don't want to carry this thing. But there was a couple times when I just needed to take a break. It was good to be able to throw that chair down anywhere I wanted. Oh, in fact, I was going to... You know what? I'm going to do it right now. Hold on. You guys are going to have to listen to me clicking because I'm going to insert... Oh, can I even do that? I'll tack it on to the end. I'll talk about it now, but it was just me sitting in a chair in the middle of a runway, drinking the king. I'm like, you know what? This is a pretty good day. How often am I going to sit on an airstrip, on an Air Force base, watching an F-22 buzz around? You know, that's a pretty good day. But anyway, more tankers. I'll throw it at the end. I'll put it at the end. I don't want to try to insert it now. I meant to transfer it over. I took a picture of my phone. The rest of these pictures came from the GoPro, so these are all kind of in a nice, neat order. Yeah, I'll tack it on at the end. All right, that's got props on it. That's definitely not KC-135, so I don't know what that is. And they're the Blue Angels. That's the only look I got of them all day. That's Fat Albert on the left there. I think that's a C-130 Hercules. That thing is really good at short takeoffs, I believe. Yeah, I've seen that thing bounce off a runway. Pretty nice, man. It can take off at a pretty steep angle. But yeah, the Blue Angels, they never got off the ground. That was kind of disappointing, but you know, safety first. I don't blame them for doing what they did. And it was an absolute mess getting out of there, by the way. You know, I guess it would have been just like that if, you know, the air show ended at the normal time. But they made an announcement that, you know, everything's canceled, go home, and you had a flood of people leaving. It started pouring rain. They did not have enough buses, not even close to get everybody out. So actually, everybody kind of sheltered in the hangar there where the MQ-25 was sitting. And we just kind of waited it out, and they brought buses. I'm pretty sure they snatched some buses from somewhere else. I think they had some by the end that were not part of the original plan. So, you know, kudos to whoever was planning this thing to get that going. And yeah, made it home. So, all right, moved from one F-18 to another. There's called a regular F-18. Got a drop tank on the center pylon. Wings are folded up to make space on the carrier. And this kind of cracked me up. So you see the guy sitting there. I think I got a little closer. Let me go to the next one. Yeah. We got the guy sitting there guarding this thing, you know, with the AR, assault rifle, whatever. And this thing's been around since like 1970. I don't know. And there was nobody guarding the MQ-25. So I don't know what that was about. I don't know why this guy was sitting here. Like, if somebody wants to jump that rope. I mean, obviously that's not what you want to do, but the bigger technology risk is MQ-25. So I was a little surprised to see that. And one more picture, but yeah, you can see even the intakes on this thing are covered up. Yeah, there's nothing even pretending to be stealthy about the intakes on this thing. This is no S-ducts. It's straight shot to the engine. But they just cover them up. That's what they do. Probably just to keep FOD out, you know. And same for the exhaust. I was surprised. Like I said, I was very surprised that MQ-25 exhaust was not covered. We got a pretty slick looking shot here from the ports, from the port view. And there's a little thing that's barely above an RC plane. Yeah. That fits two people, actually. And just more pictures of stacked displays. Got up close and personal on that one. Don't push. Good to know. And there's more tanker action. Yeah, so this cracked me up a little bit. Oregon State Police. What are they doing here? I should have asked. I did not ask. They had two studs working there too. Like, these guys were breaking buttons on the uniform, you know, both of them just jacked guys. Oregon State Police put out a good showing to the St. Louis Air Show. I don't know what they were doing here. They seem to be quite a ways afar from home recruiting. But anyways, Oregon State Police. All right, what is that? C-17, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's C-17. I did not walk in this again. Like I said, I had to make every step count. So, yeah, again, I do believe in previous air shows I have a walkthrough with C-17. I will also put the link to that in the description if you're curious about seeing that. I saved my walkthrough for the C-5 because even though that's the enemy plane, the competitor plane, I don't think I've ever been in a C-5 before. So I was like, you know what? It's there. I'm going to walk through that one. So that's what I save my steps for. This thing. So we got a 1943 Sherman tank here. I'm not going to read that sign to you. You can read it. But what got me thinking about this is, you know, like some of the tanks that Russia is putting out right now are on par or even worse than this thing. And it just blows my mind that, like, you look at this thing, I mean, you know, I'm certainly not a tank guy, but it's like, hey, we could give this thing to Ukraine, and it might be able to dominate the battlefield right now. Or maybe not dominate, but at least give Russia a fighting chance, you know, at least in terms of the tank-on-tank warfare. It's just like, are you kidding me? Like, oh, that whole war, all right. I'm not going to get into that right now. But yeah, here's circa 1943 tanks, pretty much that Russia is rolling out right now to fight this pathetic, stupid war that idiot Putin started. Yeah, okay. It's pretty. I mean, they kept that thing in good shape. I thought it was looked really good, except for the treads looked pretty worn. But I bet that thing actually drives, obviously. Here we got some more World War II era circa vehicles, I presume. Not really exactly sure what they are. No clue why I took a picture of all the portable pissers. Huh? Moving on. There's a C-5. So C-5 is bigger than the C-17. I believe it's the biggest transport vehicle in the fleet. Yeah, the nose opens up, as you can see here, and the back opens up. So you got a whole tube. You can stuff things in the front, take them out of the back, vice versa. I don't know how they really do that most of the time. I'm sure they've got a whole system in there. But yeah, I mean, who knows how much weight this thing can carry. You could play a basketball game in there, I think. It is just huge. It's huge. And there's more C-5 engines covered up. I guess I was taking a picture of the former Air Force One looking jet. I don't know. Just taking a picture of the things behind the rope. Not exactly sure what all that stuff is. Here we go. Here's a C-5. So I do have a walkthrough with the C-5. Obviously, you can watch that if you want. That's what I mean. So I'm not, these pictures and the videos are not going to be in chronological order relative to each other. So I have a whole sub video just for the C-5. And yeah, look at that thing lift up. That's pretty crazy. I don't know how they designed that thing where the whole nose can just lift up like that. Close back down and everything's fine aerodynamically. This guy. You know, I wish I had taken a picture of this guy. That's Val Kilmer, you know? I mean, that's got to be like Val Kilmer's kid. Freaking poster child for this. You know, except this is the Air Force, obviously. Top Gun is the Navy. But, man, that was hilarious because, like, all the parents were just loving this guy. I should have taken a picture with him. And boom, fire truck. Yeah, this looks very similar to a Boeing fire truck. So I do know this much, that gun, you see that gun on top? So that shoots flame retardant foam, and you control it, aim it, shoot it, all that from entirely inside the truck. So, you know, God forbid, plane comes down, crashes on the runway, whatever, there's fire everywhere. You drive this thing up and you just start shooting this foam on the fire, and it puts it out, and it keeps the firefighters safe. And there were people in this truck, by the way, and you can see it's behind the rope. 99% sure this was not a static display that was part of the air show. These guys were on call, ready to respond to a real emergency, had one happen. All right. Yeah, this should have been included a little while back. This is all the loadout for the Sherman tank from a couple pictures before. I guess it's like mostly tools. I mean, look on the right. You got a bunch of different wrenches. I guess you got hammers in the front. Obviously some bullets, weapons in the back there, back center. I don't know. And one more picture. So this was during evacuation. So you can see the weather rolling in. You can see people are heading toward the exits. So that big building there behind the Jeep is the hangar. So the MQ-25 was sitting in the front of that thing, the front being the right side from this vantage point. And yeah, so we walked the exit. It was a mass sea of people. It started pouring rain, and then everybody left who was not fortunate enough to catch a shuttle, hung out in the hangar for a little bit. It was actually kind of cool. It was good to see everybody kind of thinking on their feet. You know, it was not planned, but they had contingencies for it. So hats off to all the personnel at Scott Air Force Base. They did a killer job keeping all of us air show goers corralled. And this was just me walking to the exit. Let me take a quick look. I got to be running out of pictures soon because this is very close to the end. Where are we? 3976. Oh, still got like 3 more. All right, moving on. There's a closer look at Air Force One back in the day. I assume that's what that was. Boeing something. I think those have pretty much all been Boeing. Maybe McDonnell Douglas, DC something. Moving on. There's the C-17 from the front. That's a big sucker, boy. I bet. Yeah, I don't think it's quite as big as a C-5. Yeah, here's one last picture into the hangar. Yeah, this is the sea of people trying to leave. Yeah. Who knew at that point we'd all be making friends back in the hangar as the rain came down. All right, that's the end of the slideshow. We're going to get into some videos next. Stay tuned, and I will see you. I think I'm going to do the MiG-17 next. Maybe not. We'll see. Stay tuned.